Hi, I'm Danielle Rowley. I'm CEO and co-founder of Performa Learning. Our brand is bizProfi, and I'm on Start Talk with Jay Haleem.
I'm in the studio with Jay Haleem.
I'm in the studio with Jay Haleem.
I'm in the studio with Jay Haleem.
I am in the studio with Jay Haleem. I'm in the studio with Jay Haleem.
You are now in the studio with Jay Haleem.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jay Haleem, and we are back for another amazing episode. And I know this is going to be an amazing episode. I love talking to this woman off camera since I met her almost a year ago, and I'm happy to have her on camera right now. So you guys are going to definitely be blessed. This is definitely a person who lives by our acronym, Stand Tall and Reclaim Victory every day. And you'll see why I'm not going to steal her thunder. But thank you, Miss Danielle Rowley, for coming on the show today.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
And the crowd has to. We got to show you some love, but of course, we were talking off camera, and from the time we met, on the phone, talking in Zooms, just been so nice to me. Really appreciate it. But I've learned a lot from you. One thing I learned is, you're so diligent. You're so diligent. I always watch, your work ethic. And, then you got a chance to work together briefly, but I'm just like, I was blown away and definitely continue being inspired by your work ethic. But then I got a chance to learn a little bit more about you and your entrepreneurial journey. And I said, I got to have her on the show. I got to definitely have her on the show. So again, thank you for taking the time out. And we're going to dive right into it. Your career, at what point, in your career, in the beginning of your career, you probably working a job or something like that. When did you say, okay, well, I'm tired of this part, I want to go to the entrepreneurial place?
Yeah, after I came back to the US, I lived abroad for 10 years after college. And when I came back to the US, I had no job. I had no career prospects. I had no career path. I didn't know where I fit into the workspace. And I was struggling, I had a lot to offer. I knew that I had a lot that I wanted to do, and I had a lot to offer, but I didn't know how it would fit in. I applied for some jobs, but I just didn't fit anywhere. And I was highly specialized in what I did. So, so I realized that being an entrepreneur, I can make my own opportunities, that and I can show people what I can do, and I tried working as a consultant, helping people with my knowledge set and helping big companies. Qualcomm hired me as a consultant to come in. I gave them lots of great ideas, but they didn't implement it. So it was really frustrating to, like they say, lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, right? So the change management was too complex for me. And I just said, you know what, I'm just going to do this myself. I can build software. I can learn how to build software. I can't build it, but I can learn how to do it. I've learned other things in my life, and I'm just going to make this happen. So yeah, that's how it got started.
For those 10 years overseas, what was that like?
Yeah, I was teaching business executives I worked in South Korea for 4 years, and then I worked in Greece for a year and Germany for 4.5 years, teaching at the companies, business communication skills.
Wow, so that's amazing. I just literally interviewed a gentleman who's over in South Korea right now, teaching English, but he is an author now. He got he created books for people to know about South Korea, Americans and people traveling, how to navigate different parts of South Korea. So
yeah, that's what I did. That was my life for 4 years. I lived there for 4 years doing that.
See, yeah, that's amazing. See, you meet so many different people doing this type of work. But yeah, so you come back here, and they probably worship the ground you walked on over there. You come back here, and
that's very true.
And they're looking at you like, wow, one in a million type of thing.
Yeah, well, they didn't know how I would fit in, because my customer was, Korean executives, and I was teaching business communication skills. So when I got here, of course, there are, non-native English speaker executives here, but there are fewer and it's much harder to break in. And I knew that I wanted to go bigger
Yeah.
at this point. Instead of the one-to-one consulting, which is really, frustrating, and people, you line people up for a consulting for an hour and then they postpone or they cancel and then you lose that money for that hour. And I said, okay, I'm just going to find a new gig here.
I love that. I love that. And that's one of the things that drew me to you, because you're straight to the point, and teaching entrepreneurs and trying to teach them correctly anyway. A lot of times when you do your own thing, a lot of people have the wrong reason for wanting to do it. They want to do it just because they don't want to be told what to do, or they don't want to follow someone else's path, even though if their path, they see it have a longer runway. It's just an ego thing. But they're not good entrepreneurs because they don't, have a idea of what their customer is or how big they want to go or anything like that. So when you came here, you made that decision. Did you already know where you wanted to go, or did you have to, have a little bit of a trial and error period?
Oh, I'm constantly having a trial and error period. I mean, it's just a constant process. Did I know where? I knew that, I really appreciate you saying that I get direct and to the point. And I think that is one of my talents that I have. And that's why I thought that I could bring this into software. And I knew that I had special skills, teaching these business communications, because I was so successful that I knew that I had something that people really wanted. I just didn't know how to get it to them. So if you had asked me, and I even attended a seminar for women, 19, it was probably the year 2000.
Okay.
And it was, there were like 60 women in the room, and they said, raise your hand if you know what you want to do the rest of your life. And I was one of the 1 or 2 women in the entire room who raised their hand, because I knew that I had a special skill and talent, but I just didn't know how it was going to show itself, right? So I didn't know, but I took opportunities. I love technology. And so I took an opportunity working in Germany for Berlitz Online and building online learning for them. And so every time I saw an opportunity that would help me develop my grand vision for my company, I would take it to learn, right? And so I learned at Berlitz how to build software, how to work together with an engineer. And he was a German guy, so I would speak in English and he would speak to German back to me, and we communicated and we built a product together. He was a great guy. And he was excited to be working on a new project too. So I just kept pivoting. If you've heard the word pivot before, you have to constantly talk to the customers. You have to look at the data, look at surveys, and constantly change. I mean, what I'm doing today still has at its core business communication skills, but I've recently signed a partnership with D.I.S.C providers. Do you know the D.I.S.C personality assessments?
Mhm.
Yeah. And so, one way, and I saw on your workshop on Saturday, I signed up for your workshop, by the way. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
looking forward to your workshop on Saturday. And I see one of your topics is, knowing the customers and talking to the customers all the time, and partnering, establishing those partnerships.
Strategic partnerships. Mm-hmm.
And so what I've done is, that's the fastest way to grow, and so I've recently signed a strategic partnership with a D.I.S.C assessment reseller, and who has their own resellers all across the world. And so I'm going to, I only need to give them the sales tools that they need, and then they already have their clients. This is an extra revenue stream for them. So.
Yeah, it's funny because we talk about this stuff and where you are now, but when you came back from overseas and you're trying to figure it out, at what point did you start having children?
Yeah, that's a really good story too. So yeah, I was married. We came to San Diego with my husband. He was offered a job opportunity here. And you know, so before I had kids, I opened a language school here in San Diego.
Wow.
And but I was having so much fun. I was in such a good place mentally and physically and financially. You know, and developing my idea and my vision for my language school using my curriculums that I had developed. And we were going through IVF treatments.
Mhm.
And because I was in such a good place, the crazy thing is that the week that we opened the doors on the language school, I found out I was pregnant with my first son. And he actually was born with challenges. He's autistic, but I didn't know it at the time. I just knew he was difficult as a baby and I was struggling. And so at this time when he was born, my company was only, 9 months old, and I was still developing content. I was still doing all the sales and marketing, still hiring trainers, still working really hard on my business. I had help, I had grandma's babysitting, but then, and then 2 months after he was born, I started feeling sick again, and I was pregnant again. So
Wow.
my kids are 50 weeks apart. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that's really, it's really close. Like I was holding one baby on my pregnant belly. There was sitting one baby on my pregnant
Wow.
belly.
Wow.
I call it buy one, get one free, because the
I
first one
love
was
that.
like,
I love that.
yeah. So when the second one was born, again, I was overwhelmed because they were so close together. I was doing too much with my business. My first one had autism symptoms, but I didn't know what it was at that time.
Mhm.
And my husband just told me, you have to shut down. And I said, I'm even, tearing up a little bit now, because that was my passion project. That was my life vision. And to shut down, I realized I was overwhelmed and couldn't do it, but it was really hard
Yeah.
to shut down. But I didn't sell it because I knew I was onto something big, and I was just getting started too. So yeah.
It's amazing because again, this is the part that people don't think about, because it's hard as a mom to and just have one child, and you had two in such close proximity, and then be an entrepreneur at the same time, because there's no FMLA for you. It's no, vacation
No,
pays and the
no.
government protecting you, family, all, you got to leave and all this other stuff. You're still getting
Yep.
paychecks. None of that comes to us as entrepreneurs. And
I
so
know.
to a woman entrepreneur that's going through those challenges, and then you said your husband, I don't know, he was working, he wasn't an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's correct. He had a really good full-time job.
See, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. They don't understand. It doesn't matter, it's not about gender, but an entrepreneur can have a non-entrepreneur spouse and they literally don't get it. They
Yes.
do not get it. You have a bug. You seem like
Yep.
the crazy person in the house.
Yep.
They're
Yeah.
really looking at you like you're a weirdo. Like, what are you talking? Why are you even doing this? You did this for 3 months, didn't make any money yet. Like, what's going on?
Yep.
And so that had to be a struggle and a strain trying to explain that passion to your husband. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you're really nailing it with your questions. That's exactly right. So at first, he understood. He's also a business partner. He's a partner in my business.
Mm-hmm.
He owns 1/3 of it. It's a C corp. He did believe in the vision. He gave me money at first. He supported it. But then after some time, you're right, he got frustrated with me not making money and not bringing my money into the family, although he didn't appreciate how overwhelmed I was with the two boys. He tried, but all of it was too much. Yeah, so eventually I realized that handling my kids, I had to do it better by myself without him. He was like an extra weight.
Yeah.
every time I tried to do something. And then, so my kids actually grew up without him. Even though we were married, I did almost nothing with him because it was just easier for me to get things done without him. And I also learned to not ask him advice, business advice, because he would criticize me.
You're
He
preaching
would
right
call
now.
me dumb. Yeah, he started, and
Yeah.
then he started preaching as well. So first he would yell at me and say I was stupid, even though I had the same college degrees as he did. It's just that my path went a different way. And then he started preaching after a while. I don't know which was worse, yelling at me and calling me stupid, or preaching to me, when I knew that I had been a successful person before I'd gotten married. So I knew, I'd paid off all my debts, I had been working overseas, I had had a successful career before I'd met him and gotten married. So I had to keep that in mind, as he was being negative towards me, that I am a really successful person. It's just
Yeah.
he's holding me back at this point.
And that's a crazy scenario because a lot of people are dealing with this right now. It can be vice versa. It can be the man that's in business, or or the woman. A lot of
Yeah.
people are dealing with this right now, and that's a huge dilemma because you made vows and you saying and you really do love a person, because it doesn't have anything to do with love. It's practicality.
Yeah.
Your path is different. You're still two separate individuals, and
Yep.
it has to kind of be a level of respect there for the path. And then and it takes a level of vision as well, to
Yep.
be able to say. And I try to teach this to individuals, like when you are with someone and someone who has a vision, because a lot of people that have jobs don't really have visions. So when you have an entrepreneur that has a vision, you have to find yourself in the vision, and if they don't see themselves in that vision, it's going to always be chaos, because they don't see how they benefit, how they fit. It's just, I'm helping you out.
Mm.
But if you can look and put yourself and plant themselves in the vision, say, okay, well, in 10 years, I'll be able to leave this job. Now
Yeah.
that might have a different level of motivation, but everybody's so short-sighted. And
Mm.
so I'm glad that you were able to share that portion, because somebody needed to hear that, because they're laying next to somebody who, might love them, but they just don't get it. They don't understand, and they don't know how to deal with them. And on the flip side, the other person who's doing all of the preaching and all of the, criticizing, needs to hear, like, they don't need to hear that. Like, let's try to help with solutions, or step away. Step away,
Yeah.
because I can't come on your job and criticize you for not turning in your progress reports and things that you need to do in your job. So you can't
Yeah.
just step into my business and do the same thing. Whatever you do at work, I never know about unless you decide to tell me.
Yeah.
That type of
Yeah.
thing. So it's a special place to be in. So, and then you're a woman. You're a woman. So you're a super. You have to be superwoman, especially when you
Yeah.
have kids. So how do your boys look at you now? Because I know they're teenagers now. So
Yeah.
how do they look at you now? Seeing, because the kids grow up with you, and they
Yeah.
don't forget anything. So how do they do? Are they proud now? Do they tell you that they're proud of you?
Well, they're only, 14 and 15 now. That was one of the major determiners for me to actually get a divorce, is because of how my boys see that relationship between my ex and me. I think that they see me as being a very determined person. I haven't given up on my company. I keep working and keep trying new things for 10 years. They see me as, visionary, hard worker, and I hope that they also see me as, a successful person. I want them to see me win and sell my company for millions of dollars, so yeah, well, my youngest son definitely is an entrepreneur. He wants to be an entrepreneur, and he has
Wow.
seen my struggles, and he's a great at being coached. So he loves being coached, and he listens to it, and I can tell that he has all the characteristics for success. Like, he wants to be an entrepreneur. He's listening to everything I tell him, because I have a lot of learnings now. And he's working really hard as well, and he's still an eighth grader. but he's a competitive athlete, and he sees that how I've struggled, I think, financially. And so he definitely wants to be rich, so, and I think that if I had been successful from the beginning, if I had just gotten a corporate job and just, given him everything he needed or wanted, he wouldn't have that drive
Yeah,
that
that fight.
that he, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely got that fight. Definitely.
It's important because you have sayings. They say, you have dad didn't have a car, then his son got a car, then this son had a decent car, then this son has a Mercedes, and this son has a jet, then the next son after that will have back to no car. Because
Yeah.
each generation they'll make it too easy on the next generation. So we got to figure out a way to how to keep the cars and keep the jets, on the way up. But
Yeah.
kids do need to see that grit, because I do believe that they do what we do, not what we say. And they get a chance to, they're a lot smarter than we are, a lot of information is at their fingertips that we would have had to, I talk about COVID right now. I say that wasn't built for us because we would have died,
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
kids were able to take these computers and tablets and do amazing things during
Yeah.
this time. So it was for them. So if we didn't do our part before, some kids didn't have computers or didn't have those things. So we did what we need to do to put the proper tools in their hands. They just take to it like, a fish to water. So you're doing what you're supposed to do. And again, I let me publicly commend you on that, because I know
Thank
what is
you.
I know what it's like. I grew up around a lot of single parents. My grandmother raised me. She raised all her children, and then I'm her first grandchild. She raised 10 of us. So she has 8 children, and she raised 10 of her grandchildren, full custody, everything. And so
Wow.
I understand totally
Wow.
what that looks like, but also, again, understand that fight, because
Mhm.
I still don't know. I put in my first book, I said, I don't know how she did it, how she fed 15 people in a house every night, but we never went hungry. So kudos to
Awesome.
her. But I
Yeah.
just imagine if she was an entrepreneur, that would have drove her
Yeah.
insane. So how we met
Wow.
was through training, right? And
Yeah.
so again, I definitely told you that I appreciate your style of training. Just how you show up. You show up attentive, ready. You're straightforward. What's the catalyst for that?
Yeah. I love seeing people succeed. So I love people. I love each individual. Um, and I learned a long time ago, I had a mentor a long time ago that I worked with, who was another trainer. And he said, you'll be successful if you help people succeed.
I agree.
Um, and that was the first time I'd ever heard that. And it's kind of been my mission ever since then. Use your passions and talents to help other people succeed, and you'll succeed. Take the high road, and help other people. And I was also born into a family of educators. And so it came naturally to me as well. So, my grandfather was a principal, my grandmother was an elementary school teacher, and even at her funeral, some of her elementary students, who were in their 50s themselves, came to her funeral. So
Wow.
yeah, so that's the impact that trainers have on people and teachers have on people. Yeah.
That speaks volumes for her. I mean, we all have somebody, especially in our generations. I don't know about these kids would be trying to forget their teachers now. you
No, I
know.
think it's the same. It's the same.
Okay.
There's always one or two teachers that you
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
they didn't
I
have
know I
anything.
definitely have a few who I think I saw my 8th grade teacher maybe about 7, 8 years ago, out of nowhere. And this woman used to come to my basketball games, like all of them
Oh,
around the city and stuff like that. So
wow.
she was super cool. So I always tell
Oh,
my kids about her, Miss Chambers. So shout out to you, Miss Chambers, if you ever get a chance to hear this.
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I was impressed because again, I've been training for a while now, and everybody was just always about, okay, this is what we got to do now. It's over. And I never got that out of you. It was just like, hey, if you need to reach out, let me know. Do you need to get on the
Oh,
Zoom? Let me know. And I'm like, wow, that's where did that come from?
wow.
Because everybody's just about the job. And the job really never stops but that's entrepreneurial quality. We know that, you know, just because we sold the product, now you still got to make sure that everybody enjoyed the product. And if they would come back and get the product again, and will they tell someone else about the product? Like, it's never ending after you get the transaction.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
a good point. Yeah, that's an
And
excellent
so
point.
I don't know why trainers, do you have an idea why trainers feel like, okay, once the class is over, or once you've done what you signed up to do, that, you know, all right, I don't have to do anything else after that?
Well, I feel like a lot of training is not really aligned to people's goals. There's a lot of mandatory training out there, compliance training, and nobody likes it. You know, the trainers don't like it, but in my work, I've always been blessed to help people, you know, like I constantly get feedback from people that, Danielle, that's a really good idea. I'm going to do that, you know, and so it's really exciting to me. I get that feedback all the time that, Danielle, you made the biggest impact and on me, and you really helped me think big and all of that. You know, the typical trainers, um, you know, I think, yeah, they don't get into the shoes of their customers. You know, their learners are customers, like you said. You want them to come back. And you know, I was selling training in Europe and Asia, so every business executive that I taught paid me a lot of money for every hour. And so I learned to be very effective and very customer oriented. That's another thing that I learned. I was really fortunate to have that. So it carries over, you know, it's always customer first. It's always do your best to help everybody succeed, you know, for me now, because of that.
Now you run into, you're an educator and teaching entrepreneurs. Do you find that people are overly putting their passion over their specific skill set nowadays?
Yeah, you have to keep it, and I'm guilty of this as well. Like, you know, once I start developing the product, I keep developing the product, keep developing more features, keep doing this and this and this. And I even have IP, I even have a patent. But it's not selling. What I got the IP for, you know, I applied for the patent, is not what people actually want from the product. So you really need to keep talking to the customer and find out how you can solve their problems, because and don't do more than that, you know. So just focus on your customer needs, and, you know, keep it simple. This is also some advice that I had, you know, from Silicon Valley, when I had a software developer who worked with startups in Silicon Valley, and he said, you know, what they do, the philosophy is, you just start out with something small, just one thing, just try to solve one little problem and do it really well. And then, you know, get some traction, get some customers, and then you can start developing more and more products and services. But just focus on one thing that you do best, you know, and that meets a customer need. You know, we call that product market fit. So that your product meets a market, and there's a large enough market. I know you're going to talk about that too on Saturday, that there's a big enough demand for what you're doing that it makes sense to put in the time and money and effort into it.
Yeah, one of the things that, you know, I'm starting to see now is that, you know, again, with social media, everybody's an entrepreneur now. You know, I think they're just self-employed, but, you know, everybody's an entrepreneur. And it's like, oh, well, I made the best cookies in the world, and only people told you that was the people at your church or your family. And so now you hit the market, and then you leave the job because, you know, you're following your passion because 100 different motivational speakers told you to follow your passion. And I started describing it. I said, listen, your passion is something, it's like your insurance card and your registration. You don't pull it out all the time, but when it's time for you to pull it out, you pull it, because again, the definition of passion is an uncontrollable, you know, emotion. And you can't follow that. You can bring that with you, but you can't follow that, you know, just like love, you know, it's like love can make you do crazy things, but discipline makes you do what you're supposed to do. And
That's an excellent
so
point.
if they're not, if the people are not buying what you have, passion and love would tell you they're hating on me, or they're not. No, you're not doing something right. So, or maybe until you figure that part out, you might need a job, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
But now, you know, that's part of my training, because I just believe that it don't have to be that hard. It doesn't have to be that hard. You know, I think that when somebody get a job, if you get the right job, it should train you. You know, the money will come as you get better at your job. The more money will come with the promotion, the money will come. But make sure it's the right job and it's training you to do what you want to do. Do you see that individual just throwing out the baby with the bathwater and saying, hey, I'm good at frying chicken, so I'm doing this and that's it, because this is my passion?
yeah. No, that's exactly right. Yeah, you're right on everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
You got
nuts.
to control your passion and pull it out when you need it, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been it's nuts around here with the entrepreneurship thing. I just remember in college, trying to be an entrepreneur, and everybody was telling me I was crazy. So then you go years later, 20 years later, and everybody's talking about, yeah, entrepreneur, forget college. Duh, duh, duh. I'm like, where were you guys when I was trying to do?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so I was a weirdo when they was looking at me saying that stuff. So you have something amazing. You have an app that you created. Let's
yeah,
talk about this is your baby. This is your third baby. So
yeah, yeah,
let's talk
yeah,
about
right.
baby number 3.
Yeah, well, she's I call her she's been around, it's a software app. So the name is bizProfi, and bizProfi accelerates global business with our workplace communication skills learning platform.
So in layman's terms, Biz Profi.
So we help companies give business communication skills to their global
Okay.
employees, right? So we provide, and it's all in an app, um, and it combines business skills with language skills, with communication skills, and now DISC skills. So we're adding
Okay.
in the DISC into the mix. So yeah.
And what part of your research made you feel like you needed to add the disc portion to it?
That's also an excellent question. Uh, um, I think because in my last full-time job, like you said, sometimes you have to have full-time jobs while your passion play is on the back burner. And my full-time job, she brought in a assessment.
Mm.
Had all of us do a DISC assessment, and then she paid the woman to talk to us about what they mean, what this assessment means. And then I raised my hand and I said, but how do I apply this on the job? And she said, I'll talk to you. Good question, Danielle. I'll talk to you after the class. And so basically, she said, there's no really tool to help people apply DISC on the job. And I said, well, you're teaching some really good communication skills, understanding people's personalities and how to talk to them. Like you said, I'm a D, I'm direct. So I'm the D in DISC because the Ds are
Uh-huh.
direct, if you remember. And I'm very direct, and so I work well with some people, and I don't work so well with others, and it depends on who you're talking to. If you come up with an I, you don't want to talk so direct.
So are you a
To
high
be
D, and what was your low number? What was your low letter?
um, it was it S, probably
S. Okay.
S as in Sam, yeah. But I also realized that it changes depending on your what you're concentrating on when you take the assessment.
Yeah. I found that out myself. I'm a high I, low D. So basically, I'm
Oh,
a
okay.
people person, but you can't take advantage of me.
Okay.
So that's what I was a high I and the low D. So and yeah, it's definitely very effective, but the problem a lot of times people don't have that explanation behind it, or actually being able to say, okay, how do you do this for this specific, because it changes for each organization,
Yes.
changes for each organization.
Each organization and each job role, and
Yeah.
so that's what I developed a long time ago, Jamar, which is be focused on the situation and what the goal is of that person in that situation. Because I had a customer a long time ago say to me, Danielle, this is in Germany. He said to me, well, it was two guys, Danielle, we're going to present our products at a trade show, in a trade show booth. I have a trade show booth, but I don't know how to present my products in English. Can you help me get prepared? And so that, as you can imagine, was one of my first lessons that I developed, is how to present at a trade show booth, and I thought about what's your goal? Your goal is to get leads, and how do you get leads? What's the correct language to use? How do you make them interested? And so, yeah, I've developed along the way, this situation-based approach to helping people succeed in their work.
Yeah. And so with that, I know I noticed that a lot of the things you threw in there, the things that you've experienced in your career. So the international piece and things of that nature, do you still see that as a gap that need to be filled?
The communication skills.
Yeah, the communication skills between with people working overseas or just trying to do business overseas.
Yeah, so English is the language of international business.
Mm.
So when Yasunori, who works for a company in Tokyo, wants to sell his product to a Dutch buyer, he has to use English,
Yeah.
right? And there are millions of these conversations every day. But Yasunori's level of English is not that high, right? He studied English grammar, but it takes a very sophisticated level of English to persuade someone to buy your product, right?
Yeah.
Even for native speakers. And so, so I combine the best of business skills training, like how do you sell a product? I took the native speaker training, and then I added some soft skills, and then I also added the language skills. So here's a question of how to find out their needs. Ask this open-ended question. I gave them the questions to ask.
Yeah.
And I never saw anybody doing all of that. And so, I've been, when you said, how did I come across this opportunity? I've just been open. I've always had the clear vision of what my abilities and skills were, but then I always kept my ear open for new opportunities.
Yeah.
And then I would get excited about a new opportunity. I was like, okay, D.I.S.C might be a good opportunity. Nobody's applying this. And then I realized, well, there are lots of resellers. It's very much of a, one person in Singapore has many corporate clients. So I don't have to sell to each individual client, each individual customer or company. This person already has all those relationships built, and she's looking for, I also thought about what's her need as a reseller. Her need as a reseller is, okay, once she sells an assessment, which is one-time product,
Yeah.
she's got nothing else to sell, right? So she might sell the assessment for $1,000, and then it comes with some really fancy explanations and all of that. But then she's got nothing to sell after that. So with my app, I'm giving her she'll sell an annual subscription.
Mm-hmm.
She'll sell that and there's nothing for her to do except sell it, because I'm doing all the technology part of it, and I'm giving her even the sales tools if she wants my sales tools to, and it has several advantages. So it's always really important to think about the value proposition for your customer. Like, what is truly the value proposition? What are they? So for my target customer, it's not the end user learner, it's the reseller, right? So that's my end customer, and her value prop is that she wants to have more products to sell once she has that customer. Another one is that she wants to keep her brand top of mind throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
And this is an annual subscription, and people are going to be using it. And so they're going to see her brand. I can easily put her logo into my software, it's a 1 second thing. And then, third, it's, she can sell more products. So if she keeps her brand on top of mind, they'll come back to her for more live training and maybe more assessments throughout the year. So it's a strong value prop for the resellers.
Okay. So have you tested your product out on some of the people, some of your target market?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm working with a D.I.S.C assessment company and reseller, and they certify these D.I.S.C providers around the world, and they're actually based in Southeast Asia. So
wow.
It's like, yeah, my perfect target market. Yeah. And I talk to her once a week. So she's given me the names of the clients that she's going to introduce me to. So right now we're in the product development stage. You know, I can't get stuck in this again. Developing the D.I.S.C content specifically for my app. And then we found that we work really well together. Like I gave her a little sample of how to write. And then I gave her the tool to write the questions in, and she used it perfectly. You know, it's slow, but I'm paying her per hour for writing the content, and then I'm also paying her commission for each one. So each one that she helps to sell. So she can't wait to resell it to her resellers, right?
We got to keep an eye on you because you might sneak the Southeast Asia on us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I lived there for a long time. Like, you know, there's great opportunity everywhere in the world, you know.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I love it. And, you know, again, thinking on another level because I get over everybody with the restaurant or just the typical businesses. I love to see where you're taking it to another level. And, you know, this is just having those type of conversations takes you to another level. So I love having that interaction. How's tech been for you as a woman? You know, and everybody wants to be in tech now, some way, shape, form, or fashion. How has tech been treating you? How's the tech community been treating you?
You know, it's so strange. You hear a lot of things about bias, but actually it's all been good for me. So we live in an environment right now where people are trying to encourage minorities in tech, you know,
Yeah.
and there are more resources than ever before. I mean, really, you know, the company that I was working for, Founders First Capital Partners, you know, they have $7 million in resources and $100 million fund. So it's just difficult to get to, but they have it. And so there are more resources than ever. You know, my ex-husband, well, I did marry him for a reason, right? So one of the valuable things that he taught me when I first started in the tech world was, you know, and I said, how do I be a woman, you know, in the tech world? I just didn't know how to do it. And he said to me, because he had already been working in corporate life for quite a while, and he says, use your femininity. And don't downplay it. And, you know, and so it really empowered me when he
I
said
thought he
that.
was a bad guy. He had some great advice.
No one's all bad and no one's all good. You know, you got to take the best from everybody. I'm better friends with him now than I ever have been. So
I think that's a great advice, though. I think it's great advice because, again, it's one thing, you know, I used to play sports when I was younger. And one thing I didn't like about women's basketball that I do love now is that I see women. I don't see potential women who probably want to be like guys. You know,
yeah,
I see women like when I
that's
literally
awesome.
go there and I see women like, yes, you got on shorts and you're playing basketball, but when they get dressed, I see a young lady coming out there. I can
That's
see
awesome.
and be that. Be that.
Yeah,
You don't have to be, you know, cursing nobody out. I mean, curse, but curse like a woman. You know, you don't
yeah, yeah,
make your voice butch and all this other stuff to seem like, you know, you're one of us. Just
yeah,
be who you are. You know, if you're sick of
yeah,
this shit, you're sick of this shit. But say it like you say it, you know,
yeah.
and just be yourself. And
You
I love that.
Yeah, well, there's two things I want to say. So first of all, it helped that I was raised with a brother who I was really close with. And
Mhm.
so we did everything together. So I feel comfortable around men. You know, I don't feel that sexual tension that I think some women feel. I feel comfortable like a brother, you
Mhm.
know, and so that has helped me. Uh, Being all around men. I always have felt comfortable being around all men because I often come into a room and I'm the only woman and I use that to my advantage, you know. I just smile a lot, you know, and a person you really need when you're learning to be an entrepreneur, you really got to look for mentors and people who are doing things right. You know, I was looking to Jeff Bezos for learnings, and then I realized what a bad guy he is with his labor practices. But look at Dolly Parton. She is highly successful, right? A songwriter, singer, businesswoman. She is extremely successful, but yet she is the most down to, and look how feminine she is. She's
Yeah.
super feminine. But she's the most down to earth. She knows, and she had to make it in a man's world, right? This is country western music in the 60s, 70s. She had to make it in a man's world, like a really, alpha man's world.
Yes.
And she did, and she did it beautifully, and she did it her way. But look at how she did it. She jokes a lot, and she makes a lot of jokes about herself. She doesn't laugh at other people. She'll talk about her wigs. She'll say, oh, this wig costs so much money, and she'll just laugh about it. And she charms you with her wig, with her wit, right? And so that's, but you can't go too far, you just charm them. But I have been in situations where I felt a little bit of sexual pressure. But like one time I was asked to go to have drink with a mentor, and I had my husband go, and I had my husband sit at a table over there, and I said, actually, and I sat there with the guy. I said, I want to bring in my business partner, and I said, oh, he actually happens to be my husband, so we brought him over to the table that way. So if there was ever a time that I felt uncomfortable, I would have a backup plan, or don't meet them. Another thing I learned is also try to meet them in the office, in their office. It's the best place, the safest place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing scenario, but I know that women in the world right now you guys are doing a phenomenal job. I'm not going to be the one to take the credit away. Like I said, before I relocated to the West Coast, I lived in a small city in South Carolina. And every time the women would have their own business conferences and everything like that, and it'd be like never a men's conference. And I'm like, we can't complain about them. They're literally getting together and doing something. So, what are we doing? I mean, they were my best clients. At the time on my come up, I was taking photos. So men don't spend money on photos. So, I
Interesting.
mean,
Yeah.
female law firms that I've shot once in the blue moon, even if it's a big law firm, it'd be a woman who booked me. So it was just one of those things. I shot one of the biggest law firms in the Southeast, but I was booked by a woman to shoot
Okay.
it. So it's like, hey, I'm not worried about you guys because they're doing real business. And we're still trying to, have those little fights testosterone fits and things of that nature. And I'm kind of over that, but I know that every business venture has its struggles, but I know just being in tech is just a special, hill to climb.
Yeah,
And I know that
it's
you're
a lot to
climbing.
learn. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot to learn. So not only did I have to learn all the business part of running, having a C Corp, being, a CEO of a C Corp, and all of the restrictions and all of the legalities of it, but I also have to develop software. My product is the fourth product that I've developed. I mean, I've had to redo the code 4 times, and I've worked with 6, 7 different development companies, software development companies. So I've had to, but finally I had to trust my instincts. I've learned a lot. For example, one time, I hired this company. They were referred to me by one of my business partners, my investor business partner, and Mark, and we hired this company up in Canada, and to develop the software, and they just kept writing code, and I got nothing. I kept paying the bills, and I kept seeing nothing. And they were saying, oh, it's all in the back end. You can't see anything. And I'm like, well, so one night in the middle of the night at 3 a.m., I woke up, frightened. And I emailed them at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I said, just stop what you're doing. Send me a list of everything, all the assets you have. And we're going to have an emergency meeting with my board in the morning to figure out what to do. And they sent me the updated. So it was all gut instinct. It was a feeling I had. They sent me a list of the invoice of all of the people that have been working on the code and typing in code. And there were so many people, and they were all junior coders. So what's happened is that they were all learning, So they were all spending a lot of time
Earning
want
on your dime.
and learning on my dime, and nothing was getting done. And so I showed it to Mark, who's a very seasoned entrepreneur, and he sold his last company for $150 million. And now he's got another company that he's looking to sell for $250 million. I mean, he's my business partner. I meet him once a month. He looked at the invoice and he said, yeah, you've got too many people working on this code. You were right. This is way overspent. And I spent $30,000 on this team and had nothing. You know, I have the code, it's still on my servers, but can't do anything with it.
Didn't get you where you needed to be.
No.
But people need to hear that, so they understand the path, because again, we have to combat all of the negative information on social media about entrepreneurship. Now it comes across as positive, like, you know, they show the yacht and the the Rolls Royce and the Rolex watches and everything else and the stacks of money, fake or no fake. But it's just like nobody ever tells you the whole story. And this is why I created S.T.A.R.V.E Talk, you know, the acronym Stand Tall and Reclaim Victory Every Day. Because if you decide to go through this life as an entrepreneur, you will have to stand tall and reclaim victory every day. Everybody's gonna have to do it in their own way, but it will be a fight every day. It will be a task that you have to overcome every day. So if you would tell me a little bit about what you think about that acronym, Stand Tall and Reclaim Victory Every Day, and what that means to you.
Yeah, you have to stand tall means that, to me, that means I need to keep confidence in myself that what I'm doing will help people. You know, and that I'm doing really a lot of good, and it's gonna be good. So that helps me get up in the morning and keeps me standing tall and speaking confidently. And reclaim victory every day is just as you say. So every day there's a new struggle. You should see what I have to do today. It's crazy what I have to get done today. Like, and you know, they're big wins. Like I have to design the new product today, you know. So that's hard work every day. But I set manageable goals that I know that I can achieve for myself. And I know how to manage myself, give myself breaks, eat chocolate, but whatever I need to take. So I set these small goals so that I can have those victories every day, those small victories every day. Yeah.
I love that, because I try to teach people the small wins are everything. We're always waiting on the small win. I mean, the big wins. And, you know, I moved from New Jersey to South Carolina to go to college when I first left home, and I would drive home. It was a 12-hour ride. I would drive home all the time. And I always use that as an example to people. It's like, you know, you think about the 12-hour ride and you're like, oh my God, do I want to get on the road? But then, you know, once you're 2 hours in, you start to see that you're out of South Carolina and you're in North Carolina, and you see you're going. And then I used to get so excited as soon as I hit the New Jersey Turnpike. You know, even though I knew I had another hour and a half, 2 hours before I got home, it's just like another level of energy. And that's because we were actually present during the drive. We were actually paying attention to your progress. And so in your business, it got to be the same way. It's like we complaining because we're not at the end of this person's journey where you're seeing, but you try to think about your own journey. You're not where you started. You know, you're not nowhere near where you started. You know, you've gotten a lot of knowledge. You probably already helped some other people. You've met some new people. You've learned some things on your own. And now you're closer than you ever were before. And you know, the people that was going out for gold years ago, a couple of 100 years ago, a lot of more than a lot of them stopped before they reached it. You know, they were right there. Then somebody else came in and just got all of their hard work. So start celebrating your small wins. And I appreciate that you said that and that you do celebrate those wins. So what's next for bizProfi? What's the next phases, and you know, how can people help you and support you with what you're trying to do? I know you're doing business all over the world.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I'm looking for disc resellers. So if you know a disc reseller or someone who provides those disc assessments, I can help them sell more. So it's a win-win for everybody. And yeah, reach out to me if you need anything. You know, I have a lot more advice, a lot more things that I've learned along the way. I've made tons of mistakes, so I've got tons of advice to give. So reach out if you need anything. So I'll give you my contact info.
Let us know your social media. Are you on like Instagram or Facebook?
I'm not.
I know you're on
So that,
LinkedIn.
yeah,
Danielle
LinkedIn
Rowley.
is the best platform.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is the best platform for
I think it is. I think it is too, especially for people who's doing real business. But yeah, so definitely we have it on there. But she's probably not going to accept everybody's friend requests, but do some
Yeah, well.
business, do some real business, and serious inquiries only. But no, I really, really appreciate what you're doing. As I told you off camera, told you from time we met. Just appreciate the interactions. I want to keep that going. And I definitely thank you again for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Woo! All right.
No, it's definitely been a pleasure, and I definitely want to keep in contact and see what you're doing. I'm definitely familiar with D.I.S.C. I'm actually, the funny thing, I'm actually a reseller myself. It came with my certification, my coaching certification. So it's something I started doing. So you just open up in my mind to some other opportunities. So we're definitely going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I'm just proud of you. I can tell you that. Let me tell you, I'm proud of you. And, I'm inspired by what you're doing. And so, I just support you. However I can be of assistance to you, by all means, let me know. Because I would jump. I'm only a couple hours away now. So I would,
Yeah.
I would get over there in 2.2 seconds. I just love to learn. I love what you're doing. I'm learning. I learned from you as training me, as well as, just having conversation business wise. So you guys, I told you this was going to be a special show. I don't really bring a lot of people, get a chance to bring people who've trained me and taught me some things. So that's a blessing, but that's how we pay it forward. And hopefully you guys were able to take something from this show. We always try to keep it as exclusive as possible. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page /S.T.A.R.V.E Talk. And you can follow me. I am Jay Haleem on all social media platforms, and go to @S.T.A.R.V.E Talk on Instagram and Facebook. You go ahead and follow us, like, subscribe, make sure that you know what's going on. And listen, if you have, what can you say to my people on the way out, Darlene? Give them a word of encouragement, my entrepreneurs.
Yeah, you can do it. Hold fast your vision and help people realize their goals and succeed, and you'll win.
Listen, y'all gotta catch that part, because a lot of times we go into entrepreneurship, at least nowadays, thinking about yourself. I tell people now, entrepreneurship should be and is, in my opinion, the most selfless thing you can do, not selfish thing. So if you help on that 1 million people, there's no way you're not a millionaire. So if you check how many people you've helped, and check your receipts and see if you actually help some people. If you only help 200 people, that's probably why you got $200. But if you help 1 million people, I promise you'll be extremely successful. So think about that this week, and check in with us next week when we come back to another episode of S.T.A.R.V.E Talk.
I'm in the studio with Jay Haleem.
I'm in the studio with Jay Haleem.
I'm in the studio with J.I.R.V.E.
I am in the studio with Jay Haleem. I'm in the studio with Jay Haleem.
You are now in the studio with Jay Haleem.